Okay, so get this. We're diving into the world of open source intelligence today.
Right.
OSINT.
OSINT.
It's like being a digital Sherlock Holmes, like using information that's already out there publicly available to understand what's really going on. And get this, our source material is straight from the Philippines.
That's right.
Yeah.
We were looking at a circular from the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, TESDA, which reveals that the Philippines is serious about making OSINT a core skill.
Wow.
They're not just talking about it, they're actually creating standardized training for it.
So TESDA is like their version of a vocational training agency, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
They're responsible for developing all sorts of training programs across industries. So for them to focus on OSINT, that's a big deal.
That's huge.
It means they see it as a crucial skill set for the future.
And this document, it isn't just some vague overview. It lays out specific competency standards for OSINT investigators.
Yes.
Level 3.
Level 3.
What's with the level 3?
It definitely is.
Sounds serious.
It shows they're thinking long term, establishing a structured career path for OSINT professionals.
Okay.
Level 3 suggests a pretty advanced skill set.
Right.
Not just entry-level stuff.
Gotcha.
We're talking about seasoned investigators here.
And what's really striking is that this circular was just issued in February of this year.
Absolutely.
February 27th, to be exact.
Yeah.
This isn't some dusty old document.
It's a sign of what they're prioritizing right now.
Wow.
The Philippines is making moves to be on the cutting edge of this field.
Okay.
And when you look closer at the document, you see they're not just going it alone.
Okay.
They partnered with a group called Cyber School DEFCON Inc. to develop these standards.
Interesting.
So they're bringing in experts from the private sector, leveraging that practical know-how.
Smart move. They're really thinking this through. And speaking of thinking it through, the document keeps mentioning the need to align the training with something they call 21st century skills.
Yes.
And industry requirements?
It's all about making sure the training is relevant and applicable.
Okay.
21st century skills refers to those crucial abilities needed to thrive in our increasingly digital world.
Gotcha.
Think critical thinking, problem-solving, collaboration. The kind of skills that employers are desperately seeking.
So it's not just about learning the technical stuff.
Right.
But also about how to think critically.
Exactly.
And apply those skills in real-world situations.
They're not just training people to be data gatherers. They're training them to be analysts, problem solvers.
I see.
And by aligning the training with industry requirements, they're ensuring that graduates are job ready.
Okay.
Equipped with the specific skills needed in fields where OSINT is in high demand.
Okay, so they've got the big picture stuff covered. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. The document outlines some core competencies for these OSINT investigators.
Yeah.
2 that stood out to me were plan and prepare open source intelligence investigations and investigate using open source intelligence tools and techniques.
Those are the bread and butter of OSINT for sure.
Okay.
Plan and prepare.
Yeah.
That's where you see the strategic thinking at play. It's about defining your goals, figuring out what information you need, and then mapping out a plan of attack.
Gotcha.
No digital detective worth their salt just starts clicking around randomly.
Right.
It's about having a clear objective and a systematic approach.
So what about the investigate using tools and techniques part?
Think of it this way. You could spend days trying to sift through mountains of data manually.
Yeah.
Or you could use specialized tools to do the heavy lifting for you.
That makes sense.
OSINT investigators have a whole arsenal at their disposal.
Okay.
Take a tool like Maltego, for instance.
It
lets you visually map out relationships between people, organizations, websites. It's like creating a digital spiderweb of connections.
Wow.
Or there's Shodan, a search engine that specifically indexes internet-connected devices.
Okay.
Want to find all the webcams in a city.
Oh, wow.
Shodan can help you do that.
It sounds like these tools can uncover some pretty amazing...
You're not wrong.
Maybe even unnerving stuff.
And that's why the training also emphasizes things like search engine mastery.
Okay.
You need to know how to construct those complex search queries using advanced operators to pinpoint exactly the information you're looking for.
So these folks aren't just Googling their way through the internet. They're using some serious specialized tools.
Exactly.
This is next level detective work.
Yes.
And they're training people to do this in the Philippines.
Yep. They're going all in.
Wow.
And to make sure that this training is accessible to everyone,
Uh-huh.
The document even mentions providing scholarships.
That's fantastic.
They want to create a pipeline of talent, regardless of background or financial means.
Opening up these opportunities is so important.
Yeah.
So they're providing the training, partnering with experts, making it accessible. It's all pretty impressive.
It is.
But I'm curious, what's the why behind all this?
Yeah.
Why are they pouring so much effort into building this OSINT workforce?
Yeah.
What's the bigger picture here?
Is a question for part 2 of our deep dive.
Oh, good cliffhanger.
Ha!
Listeners, stay tuned.
Yes.
We'll be back in a flash to unpack the motivations behind the Philippines' big OSINT push.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're back, and before the break, we were talking about this fascinating document from the Philippines about their OSINT training program.
Right.
We talked about the who and the how, the agency behind it, the structure of the training, even got a glimpse into some of those cool tools they use.
Absolutely.
But the big question lingering is, why? Why is the Philippines investing so heavily in developing this OSINT workforce?
It's a great question.
Yeah, what's the bigger picture here?
It speaks to the changing landscape of the world, really.
Okay.
You see, the Philippines, just like many other countries, is facing this rapidly evolving environment where information is power.
Right.
And in the digital age,
a
lot of that power resides in open source information.
So they're recognizing that OSINT isn't just some niche thing anymore.
Yeah, okay.
It's becoming essential.
Think about it.
Okay.
The Philippines, like many nations, has concerns about cybersecurity,
right?
About protecting their critical infrastructure from attacks. OSINT can play a huge role there.
Okay.
Helping them understand the tactics of cyber criminals.
Yeah.
Track down vulnerabilities. And even anticipate potential threats before they happen.
So it's at being proactive.
Absolutely.
Staying one step ahead of the bad guys.
But it goes beyond just cybersecurity. OSINT can be used to inform all sorts of policy decisions.
Interesting.
From economic planning to disaster preparedness.
Wow.
Imagine being able to monitor social media to gauge public sentiment about a proposed policy change. Or to track the spread of misinformation during a natural disaster.
Right.
That's the power of OSINT.
I'm starting to see how this could be useful in so many different areas.
Yeah.
It's like having a real-time pulse on what's happening.
Precisely.
Not just in the Philippines, but globally.
And for a country like the Philippines, which is geographically dispersed and faces unique challenges,
right,
having that kind of situational awareness is incredibly valuable.
So they're training up this OSINT workforce to tackle a whole range of issues.
That's right.
Not just focusing on one specific area.
And the potential career paths for these graduates are incredibly diverse.
Like what?
We're talking about opportunities in cybersecurity, law enforcement, intelligence analysis, even investigative journalism.
Hold on, journalists are using OSINT now.
It's becoming a crucial skill set for journalists.
That's fascinating.
Especially those doing investigative work.
I guess it makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Being able to verify information.
Right.
Track down sources, uncover hidden connections.
They need to be able to sift through the mountains of information online. Separate fact from fiction.
Right.
And corroborate stories using open source data.
So by investing in this training program, the Philippines is essentially equipping its people with the skills needed to thrive in this information-driven world.
Exactly.
They're creating a workforce that's adaptable, future-proof.
Right.
And ready to tackle whatever challenges come their way.
And let's not forget the potential economic benefits.
Yeah.
Having a skilled OSINT workforce can give the Philippines a competitive edge in attracting businesses that rely on information gathering and analysis.
Okay.
Think financial institutions, tech companies, security firms. They all need people who can navigate the digital world effectively.
So it's not just about national security.
It's all connected.
It's also about economic growth and opportunity.
By investing in this training program, the Philippines is making a strategic bet on its future. They're recognizing that in the 21st century, information is the currency of power, and they're determined to be major players in that game.
Okay, so we've established that the Philippines has some pretty compelling reasons for making this OSINT push. But all this talk about information as power, about digging up data and uncovering secrets, doesn't it make you wonder about the potential downsides?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
And one that I think everyone working in this field needs to grapple with.
Yeah, we're talking about the potential downsides to all this.
Right.
It's exciting to think about all the possibilities, but Is there a point where OSINT becomes too much?
Well, it's a bit like fire, you know.
Oh, okay.
It's a powerful tool
Yeah.
that can be used for good or for bad.
Right.
It all depends on the hands wielding it.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure that OSINT is used responsibly?
Right.
Especially as it becomes more accessible and more people are trained in these techniques?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Part of it comes down to education.
Okay.
Making sure that anyone learning these skills understands the ethical implications.
So it's not enough to just teach them how to use the tools.
Right.
They need to understand the responsibility.
Exactly.
That comes with that knowledge.
It's like teaching someone to drive.
Okay.
You don't just hand them the keys and say, have fun.
Right.
You teach them the rules of the road.
Yeah.
The importance of safety and responsibility.
And in the case of OSINT, those rules of the road are all about respecting privacy, right?
Absolutely.
Making sure that the information gathered is used ethically and not for harmful purposes.
It's a constant balancing act. OSINT is all about uncovering information.
Yeah.
But there are times when that information should remain private.
Right.
Knowing where that line is, that's crucial.
So it sounds like the Philippines is taking a step in the right direction by including ethics as part of their OSINT training program.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
But what about the bigger picture?
Right.
Are there global efforts to establish ethical guidelines for OSINT?
There are definitely conversations happening at the international level. Organizations like the United Nations and the European Union are starting to grapple with the ethical and legal challenges posed by OSINT.
It's a complex issue for sure.
It is.
And there are no easy answers.
Yeah, we're kind of in uncharted territory here.
Right. It's a new frontier.
Exactly.
And we're still figuring out the rules of engagement.
But the important thing is that we're having these conversations.
Right.
We need to keep asking tough questions.
Yeah.
Debating the implications. And working together to find solutions.
Right.
That's strike the right balance between harnessing the power of OSINT while safeguarding individual rights.
So to wrap this all up for our listeners, what's the key takeaway here?
I think the biggest takeaway is that OSINT is no longer a niche field. It's becoming increasingly relevant across a wide range of sectors, from national security to business to journalism.
Yeah, it really is.
And as it becomes more accessible, it's crucial that we approach it with both enthusiasm and caution.
Enthusiasm for the possibilities.
Exactly.
Caution for the potential pitfalls.
We need to be mindful of the ethical implications.
Yeah.
And work to ensure that OSINT is used responsibly for the benefit of society as a whole.
Well said. And if you, dear listener, are intrigued by the world of OSINT, don't stop here.
Keep learning.
There's a whole universe of information waiting to be explored.
Absolutely.
Just remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Couldn't agree more.
Use your newfound knowledge wisely.
Until next time, stay curious.